I recently read a study that explained that a lot of people don't know what autopilot means or what self-driving means. What are the differences between these two terms that we keep hearing surrounding Teslas in particular? I want to stick to Tesla today because that's the brand I'm most interested in, and I think the one that's making the most innovative and forward-thinking upgrades for autopilot and full self-driving moving forward. I know there's other car companies out there like Google Waymo that are messing around with it, but they are trying to code it manually. There's geofences, so in a lot of ways that doesn't even count to me because they have to code the routes manually for the location they're in. What Tesla's trying to do is bring autopilot and full self-driving to anywhere you are in the world. No matter what road you're on or what conditions you're in, it will work. There is no manual coding required. But what are the differences between autopilot and full self-driving? That's what we'll be diving into today. And while I am not a Tesla owner, I have driven one and had experience with autopilot myself, and also I'll be buying one likely next year, so I'm doing a lot of research on this for myself, and I feel like there's not a ton of people who are laying out the differences between these two features and being very clear about it. So without further ado, let's begin. Basically, the stark difference between autopilot and full self-driving is, for one, autopilot is available and you can use it now. Full self-driving, at the time of recording this video, is not available. This is not something anyone has on their car unless you're talking about internal testing being done by Tesla themselves. You can look up Tesla full self-driving beta on YouTube and you will see an employee doing a full self-driving test, but let me be clear, that is not available right now. That is not something any Tesla buyer can activate. What any Tesla buyer right now can use and appreciate is autopilot, which as of right now, when you buy a Model 3 off of Tesla's website, you get autopilot included. Now, there's a lot of different tiers and checkboxes you can include with autopilot when buying your Model 3 because autopilot is included, full self-driving is not included. So this basically means that when you're checking out a Model 3, the autopilot is included, like I said, but if you want to pay the extra $6,000 at checkout, you can include full self-driving, and that $6,000 checkout will also grant you access to better autopilot features. But let's start with the ground basics of what you get with the included autopilot. What does it allow you to do? Well, basically, it is cruise control for the steering wheel. It will do its best to keep the car in between the lines on the freeway. It will slow down if there are cars in front of you, and this is most appreciated for people who spend a lot of time in traffic, where you have a lot of stop and go. Autopilot, once it's turned on, just by pushing down on the cruise control switch twice, it will slow down all the way down to 0 and accelerate again in stop and go traffic. It's great on the freeway when there's long stretches of road that you're not needing to turn or make a lot of lane changes, because currently the basic autopilot included feature is not going to do much else than that. It's just going to steer you between the lines. If you plug in GPS navigations and you tell the car that you need to turn eventually, it's not going to turn on its own. It's not going to turn on the blinkers and start changing lanes all by itself unless you buy the full self-driving option at checkout. Now, this grants you the access to summon features, which means that the car can park itself in a parking lot, and from your phone, you are able to summon the Tesla. It will pull out of its parking space and try to come pick you up. Now, I've seen some demos of this on YouTube, and it's still very much in the beta phase. It's not perfect yet. It, of course, will get better over time because Teslas have software updates, and the software will improve, but as of right now, the summon feature doesn't work perfectly, and there's still a lot of learning it has to do. But what does work pretty well is navigate on autopilot, which means if you're traveling on the freeway, you activate autopilot and you tell the car where you're going, you plug in your destination, it will now start automatically changing lanes. If maybe there's someone in front of you that's kind of slow, it will automatically turn on your blinker, check all the cars in the other lane to make sure it's clear, and then shift to that lane once the car senses that it's ready, pass cars in front of you that are going too slow, and when your exit comes up that you need to turn onto, the car will turn on its blinker and take that exit when it's ready, which I think is pretty cool because if you're on road trips, you're kind of jumping between different interstates and freeways a lot, so having navigate on autopilot on is going to be really helpful in those types of situations. However, keep in mind, people, autopilot still requires you to keep a hand or both hands on the wheel and your eyes peeled on the road. Autopilot is just like the term autopilot on a plane, which has been around for decades. Lots of airliners have had autopilot, but you'll notice that autopilot on a plane does not mean the plane can take off and land all by itself. Otherwise, back in the 90s, we would have gotten rid of pilots on planes, right? No, we have pilots on a plane for a reason, because autopilot, it can keep the wing steady, it can keep the plane heading in the right direction, but it's not going to take off and land the plane and adjust depending on the weather and different things like that. It's just supposed to allow the pilot to get up, relax a little bit, but ultimately the pilot still needs to keep in mind what's going on around the plane, how's the plane doing. It's sort of a similar situation here with the Tesla. Legally, Tesla asks that you keep your hands on the wheel and your eyes paying attention to what's going on in the road. Autopilot will move the steering wheel depending on the curves and where you're heading on the road, but it will notice if you take your hands off the wheel for too long. Now, when I used autopilot, I kind of wanted to live in the future a little bit, so I took my hands completely off the wheel, and for a little while, it will be fine with that. Probably from around 30 seconds to a minute, the car will continue to drive itself even if you're not touching the wheel, but after a while, it will ask for your engagement. It'll start blinking at you and say either grab the wheel, or a little trick I learned, you're able to just scroll the wheel a little bit on the Tesla so that the miles per hour change, or you change the speed on the touchscreen in the center, and it will count that as engagement and be like, okay, the driver's still paying attention. He's not asleep. He didn't jump in the back seat like some idiots did with autopilot. And autopilot has changed over the years. Before, they used to not require that, but a lot of idiots kept activating autopilot and then going to sleep, which you'll still see on the news sometime, which, by the way, they must be doing something to the car when you see that, because if autopilot is turned on and you don't touch the steering wheel and you don't interact with the center console, it will start beeping at you and beeping at you until eventually, if you don't interact at all, it will activate the emergency flashers and it will pull you over to the side of the road until you decide to take over the car. And after that, it will not let you engage autopilot for the rest of the trip. The car literally punishes you if you just leave on autopilot and don't hold on to the wheel. This is how Tesla ensures that they don't get in trouble when people misuse the technology that's still in the development phase. And it's also how they make sure you stay safe, because they're just trying to say that, hey, autopilot's handy and it's relaxing, that you don't have to keep your foot on the brake and gas pedals constantly, trying to accelerate and slow down and accelerate and slow down. But that does not mean you get to take a nap in the car yet. What will allow you to take a nap in the car is full self-driving, which, like I said, is not available yet, but Elon Musk claimed at Tesla Autonomy Day that it would be software ready by the end of 2019 and probably legally ready, which is a whole different battle, by the end of 2020. Now, Tesla is not statistically very good with their timelines and their estimated delivery dates, so I would say push that back a little bit more than what Elon promised. So maybe it'll be software complete by the end of 2020 or legally ready by the end of 2021 or 2022. But the good news is it's coming, and pretty much any Model 3 has the hardware equipped inside of it to support full self-driving once the software is ready and once the laws have been passed to allow it to happen. Now, the stark difference with full self-driving is that it's able to read stop signs. It's able to see construction workers. It's able to interact with stoplights. So right now with autopilot, they did just launch red light awareness. So if your car is driving in autopilot and there's a red light, it should automatically be able to stop itself. But that's about it when it comes to reading road signs. It's not really going to interact that well with stop signs or work that well in small rural areas. It's mostly just good for the freeways or maybe some places in town. Full self-driving is the idea that the car can drive itself anywhere. This means pulling itself out of the garage, driving through your tiny little neighborhood, even driving on one-lane streets without any interaction by the driver at all. So you won't have to grab the wheel. You won't have to interact with the display ever so often. The car, if it truly reaches level 5 autonomy, that means no driver interaction required at all. And once the laws and the software are ready for that, that's the ultimate vision that I'm most excited for, because it means you'll be able to basically take a nap while the car is driving where you want to go. And to think that that software and those laws could be ready within the next 2 to 4 years, that's really exciting for me. Now, there are different hardware levels of autopilot that Tesla has released over time. So I think this is worth mentioning because a lot of you out there may be thinking about getting a Tesla, but maybe you want to buy a used Model 3 and you're not sure, will that used Model 3 support full self-driving when it comes out? And for the most part, yes, but it does kind of depend on who bought that car in the first place and did they buy the full self-driving when they purchased it. If they did buy the full self-driving option when you bought your Model 3, even if it's from 2017, which is when the Model 3 first started being delivered, then it has Autopilot 2.0 inside of it, which means all of the radar sensors and the camera sensors equipped in the Model 3 are capable of supporting full self-driving, but the actual computer that's doing all of the full self-driving rendering is a little bit too slow for what Tesla deems is going to be required for level 5 autonomy. So that means that if you bought full self-driving with your 2017 Model 3, Tesla will swap out the computer with a updated version once full full self-driving is ready for free. Again, if you purchase full self-driving at checkout. If you did not, then it's probably going to cost you an upgrade down the road. But the short answer, yes, it has the sensors and the radar for it, but it just needs a little bit beefier of a computer on the inside, which will end up costing you maybe $6,000 to $7,000 years down the road when full self-driving comes out. If you're in the boat of you bought a used Model 3 and the person who bought it before you didn't get the full self-driving included, you're going to have to pay extra to have that hardware swapped out, and then your car will probably have to go through a software update. And then, yes, even the 2017 Model 3 could support full self-driving after a little bit of a hardware upgrade. Later on, they did announce hardware 2.5, which provided a little bit more computing power and a bit more reliability than hardware 2.0, but for the most part, it still isn't enough to support full self-driving. But what Tesla recently announced just back in April is that all Teslas leaving the factory after April will all ship with hardware 3.0, which includes one of the fastest CPUs and GPUs on the planet, just because they need a lot of processing power to be able to render 2,000 frames per second of imagery all around the car, because Teslas are covered in camera sensors so that they are aware of what's going around the car, and also so that it can process the imagery fast enough to allow the car to completely take control from the driver and drive all on its own. That means that once the software and the laws are ready for full self-driving, people who have any Tesla made after April of 2019, they will just have to go through a software update to enable full self-driving. They don't need any kind of hardware upgrade, whereas people who bought a Tesla before April of 2019, if you bought full self-driving at checkout, then you'll get a free upgrade, but someone will have to service your Tesla and upgrade the computer. But from what I've seen, it appears to be a fairly basic upgrade. It's literally like 3 screws under the glove box. But if you didn't buy full self-driving at checkout, then you're going to have to pay extra to have that hardware process updated. But then, yes, even the older Model 3s will support full self-driving. Now, right now, if you were to order a Model 3 off of Tesla's website, you would see that full self-driving option is an extra $6,000. That also grants you access to different levels and features of Autopilot, like we talked about, Navigate on Autopilot and the Summon features, or the automatic parking features as well, which are not included with the default Autopilot. And I'm sure a lot of you are asking this, like, why does just some software, just some lines of code, cost me an extra $6,000 if the hardware necessary is going to be equipped inside the Tesla anyway? Well, that's because no one has really ever done this before. No one has written software that can literally allow a car to drive itself with no user intervention required, and also with the set of sensors that Teslas ship with. There are full self-driving cars out there that are nearing level 4 autonomy, like the Google Waymo service, but like I said at the beginning of the video, those require a lot of manual coding and geofences, which means they are set on predetermined paths. The code is done by engineers. It's not done using machine learning, and it's not done locally on the vehicle in real time, whereas that's what Tesla's doing. They're writing software constantly, day by day, and they're probably going to be continuing to writing software even after full self-driving comes out. All of that requires a lot of money. So that's basically what you're paying for. You're paying for the software development, you're paying for the engineering that's going into making this currently impossible technology possible, so that hopefully one day we'll be able to get to a point where you can literally just get in your car, plug in the directions of where you want to go, and then go on your phone or go to sleep and just do whatever you want in the car. Hopefully one day they'll let you swivel those car seats around so you can just have a nice interaction with whoever else is in the car with you as the car drives all on its own. So hopefully today's video kind of helped explain the major differences between Autopilot, which is available today but requires you to interact with the vehicle and keep your hand on the wheel, and full self-driving, which is not available today but will allow you to basically not interact with the car at all and allow it to keep driving and stop at stop signs and stop at stoplights and go when there's a green light and basically do everything that you do in your car right now. And I'm sure the next discussion of I don't trust my car to drive itself, or humans will always be better driving, that's a whole different discussion. I'll get into that in a different video, but ultimately today's video was just hoping to explain the different configurations that are available to consumers today and what you should be aware of if you're considering buying a used Model 3. Definitely be sure to check up on if the used model was purchased with full self-driving or without, because that could affect your down the road purchase if you're buying a used Model 3 that was purchased before April of 2019, which most of them are. And either way, no matter which Tesla you get, you should be very much excited for what the future of full self-driving cars is capable of. Seeing the demos that Tesla showcased on Autonomy Day was really, really inspiring to me, seeing how the Model 3 was behaving on these roads and stopping at stop signs, and seeing that there are cars around it and bikers and knowing how to behave around them perfectly. I'm so ready for that future, and I'm just hoping that it doesn't come out before I buy my Model 3, because I definitely want to experience that transition of going from the day where one day my car can't drive itself, and then one day I wake up, there's a software update, I click install, and then boom, now my car drives itself. Then I'm never driving my car again, and I'm just gonna be on my phone or asleep anytime I drive now. I'm ready for that future. I think it's going to be really, really exciting, and I hope you guys are excited for it as well. If you want to ask more questions about this, maybe ask some things I didn't cover in today's video, be sure to hit me up over on Twitter or join our Discord, where I try to stay pretty active. This is your Tesla Sheep here, and I will see you in the next one.